otherwise. In this regard, it is with deep modesty that I wish to share with you my own country's experience. Sometime early in our journey of development and modernization, we chose to accept and appreciate our geopolitical realities, and adopting with sincerity a positive stance, we explored instead the pluses. This optimism led to a perception of the limitless opportunities that had been obscured by the veil of doubts and suspicion. If today my country is beginning to succeed in vastly improving the well-being of our people without compromising any national interest, it is because of the conscious choice we have made. It is because of the trust and the mutually beneficial cooperation we have succeeded in establishing with India, our immediate neighbor in South Asia. I have seen and have been heartened by the courageous efforts made by some of our leaders of the larger countries. Sadly, these have been thwarted by certain individuals and organizations, including the sometimes mischievous media. Claiming superior sense of patriotism and prudence, these antagonists of trust have thrived for too long on furthering and perpetuating a discordant region and by confining goodwill to symbolic gestures. It is their zealous notions and our submission to their manipulations that have caused misplacement of our precious resources. To a measurable extent, it is they to whom we may give the credit for our region's ignominy as they home to half the world's poorest. As leaders who must embody the higher values of our nations and serve as means for their aspirations, we need to be bigger and bolder than those that have held us back by their dogged pursuit of what is not helping and not working. And the bigger among us have every reason to be bigger in thought and bolder in action. Here, I do not despair. I have been inspired by the wisdom and the conviction of each of the leaders in our region. My encounters with all my esteemed colleagues, especially during my visit to their capitals, have raised my hopes and enriched my own understanding of the immense possibilities. Supported by a growing citizenry, the Saarc of today has leaders who want to break free from the bondage of doubt and doubters, build trust, and forge ahead to access what we have always known are vast potentials. I am convinced that together we can overcome what have stood in our way to make South Asia harmonious and prosperous. Together we can lead the world as indeed some among us are demonstrating on their own. To this rightful end, I invite all Saarc citizens, the media, civil society, and other opinion leaders to further inspire and support the leaders in their endeavors. Let us create an environment for our collective and harmonious progress. Let us build bridges. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my call for the nations of South Asia to strive together is not just to serve our region alone. It is equally for the larger good of humanity. The need of the hour is for all nations to come together to face the far greater challenge of human survival, and that of all other life forms for which we have the responsibility of stewardship. Mankind is hurtling itself toward self-annihilation on a planet whose capacity to support life is declining by the day. Our natural, economic, social, and governance systems are collapsing. As if there is no tomorrow, we employ our genius and technology to extract more and faster, sell and consume more, waste and pollute more. In our singular aim for material gain and mistaken symbols of success, we cast aside family, neighbors, co-workers, and our moral values to plague our society with addiction, violence, loneliness, and mental affliction. Our fundamentally flawed financial architecture for endless growth within a finite world is unraveling, and the sin of our inequalities are giving rise to a whole range of uncontainable social, security, and governance crises with global consequences. If we are to avoid deeper human suffering and ensure true societal progress, we need to act now before international order is compromised and a frightened world spirals down into insecurity, conflict, and disarray. We cannot wait for the once secure and reliable global food and energy supply chains to be halted suddenly as fearful leaders worldwide throw up protective barriers and citizens hoard diminishing supplies. We cannot wait for natural resources to fall to such levels as to trigger an open and violent struggle for their control. We must not allow our populations to be hurt, maimed, and killed, as indeed are happening in our extremely vulnerable region, by the growing frequency and magnitude of natural disasters that are caused by destabilization of the ecosystem. It is wrong to allow any deeper disintegration of our society to further marginalize, disenfranchise, and dispossess the vulnerable, the old, the mentally ill, the unemployed, and the wayward. In the meanwhile, the world is faced with a leadership crisis. This is not because there is an inherent shortage of good leaders, but because global problems appear just too many, the dark tunnel too long, and disillusionment too high to be calmed by a torch of clear vision with the soundness of practical strategies. But a shared vision with an action plan is not impossible. All that is necessary is for humanity to acknowledge such a need, to admit its mistakes. If gross domestic product, or GDP, upon having been wrongly adopted by the Bretton Woods institutions as an indicator for societal progress, was able to mislead the entire human society for 70 years, surely a sounder vision can bring the world together in these dismal times. It was with this in mind that Bhutan dared to propose happiness as the purpose and reason for sustainable development, that it be accepted as the timeless goal that unites all of humanity. Conceived by the fourth king of Bhutan, its pursuit through a set of well-defined indicators has guided Bhutan's development for more than 3 decades. That the world is indeed wary of the threats to its survival, and that it is ready for a more meaningful and rational way of life became evident at the United Nations in July 2011 this year. Introduced by the Kingdom of Bhutan with the co-sponsorship of 68 member states, the 193-member United Nations unanimously adopted the resolution, and I quote, "happiness towards a holistic approach to development," end quote. The resolution acknowledges that unsustainable patterns of production and consumption threatens sustainable development, and urges a more inclusive, equitable, and sustainability-based approach to human progress. In pursuit of such an end,